Hey YouTubers, welcome to the channel. Looking for a milestone just coming up of a number of subscribers. We'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, just a quick video, maybe this one might be a bit more extensive, on how I fixed up the ML, the W166 tailgate. So you will see quite a few videos on YouTube where tailgates have gone wrong, especially on the W164 with the hydraulic pump. It's a bit different on the 166. Here you have two struts. You have a standard strut on the left hand side, just a gas strut like your conventional car, and on the right hand side here you have an electric strut. So what's inside there is a drive motor and a worm gear and some hall sensors and some limit sensors, and pretty much that strut just pushes up and down with the assist of the gas strut, and it's controlled by this wire harness here, which goes through this grommet into the ECU, which is sitting just here behind the boot panel. So I'll show you in a moment how to get to that and what worked out on my car, but nevertheless this is the original strut and the original ECU module out of the vehicle. So 2014 strut and a 2014 module. See there the date of production 273/14, Delphi unit for that, and I can't remember who makes the strut. Anyway, never mind. The point is the boot stopped working and I had to dig in and see if I could fix that. And we're at the end of a long road now, but I think we got there and we're happy we got the boot. So challenge for tonight is just to put this back together. So I'll just take these parts out, which are just loose, show you how all the boot trim goes back together and how you swap over the module. And then maybe in a separate video I'll actually show what went on with the module and how I fixed it and got the boot to work. Okay, so we'll get started. We'll just take out the boot trim and then I'll just take you through a few of the other bits that you have to get to dig down. It is, for somebody that's not done it before, pretty challenging. You've got a lot of things to work out and find, but once you've seen a video like this, and there's a couple others on YouTube, you'll see it's for weekend work. It's doable in not too long an amount of time. Taking the boot out, boot floor, that's pretty easy. There's a couple of clips. Just missing on mine here at the moment is a trim piece that fits behind the rear seats there. I'll show you how that goes back in. But the biggest thing that will probably scare most people is just taking this trim strip off. It's not so obvious. You look at this, you think, oh, maybe I'll lift this piece of stainless up, or maybe something's hiding under the edge here. But no, all you do is just wrench it up. You think you broke it. When you turn it over, in fine Mercedes quality, these clips are absolutely perfect. So 6 clips along the edge there, 2 line-up holes into this metal panel, and that'll get that out the way. So once that's out the way, then the next thing you'll see is some fixings here. We'll be putting those back in a moment, which are on these side trims. I'll show you why that comes out, but really the next bit you want to start getting into is these side panels. So there's some there's some cargo net clips. There's one here and one down the front. So I'll show you how those come out, go back together, and then once you're happy with that, and most people should know that you can get these trim pieces out. Of course, I can't. I'll whip that out in a minute. Once we get that out, I'll show you how that whole panel comes out, or the easiest way to get that out. So we're looking to get the right hand side one out just now. The one other thing you'll need to take off is the cover off the holder for the cargo blind in the back, and I'll show you what we do around the front. But first of all, at the back, so just getting this out using this screwdriver and getting in the top there. Depending on your spec of car, you might have a cavity in there. In my car, I've got the gas tank on the right hand side, and on the left hand side this one's just going to come out. I've got the subwoofer, so you can see the little clips just on those. So I think most people might have taken those out to have a look and seen some of the things that are going on in there. And then the next thing is to just get behind the trim piece here, behind this seal. So you'll see there this clip's already popped out. That's the first one. So as you give that a bit of a pull, you'll see that comes out from the top. And the one thing you might want to do when you're here is just take the connector off the back of the 12-volt socket. Okay, so that's pretty loose. It will be a bit harder if these screws aren't out, so good idea to take these screws out to start with. And then going around to the front, same thing here, just pulling on this trim, getting that to start and getting those clips to start coming out. And you might notice that the door seal is over that trim panel. So pulling that all away, mine's been out a few times now, so it's not too bad. Just ease it out beyond that piece there. And you will find later you've got to work out this piece just clipping in to the bottom. Once that's out, this whole trim panel will just start to lift away and pull it towards the back of the car, like that. Okay, I'll get that out of the way and we'll have a look at the next bit. Okay, just having a look what's inside the wheel arch liner there. So this is all foam insulation to stop the rainwater coming up through the wheel well. We've got a cable to the pretensioner on the seatbelt. A few little blanking plates just sealing off these air holes to stop booming coming through there. This is the tailgate module that we changed earlier and got working. The air tank, that's the one air tank. There's another air tank on my car for the air suspension underneath the spare wheel. And then down here, you'll see this on a few other videos. So I've got a tow bar light module there I've put in, but this is the auxiliary battery. And there's the shut-off relay for charging the auxiliary battery, and there's the reassembly unit, I think, unless I'm mistaken. And if you take these trim pieces out, these will just clip out on those two screws, and here you can see all the main battery cables going back up to the front. And then the door module, which controls the tailgate, and the signal from the remote receiver is just there under the rear seats. And then this is the panel we're going to put back in a moment, just covering up that trim piece on the rear seats. And if you do get carried away, once you've done that side, this side's exactly the same clips. I do have to put this back together, so I haven't pushed that back in just yet from doing it before. So I'll show you where all those clips go back in, and the same on this side, taking out the side piece. And then once all of those are out, then you can take out your spare wheel and take out your whole boot liner and not expose your whole boot floor if you're getting in here to do some work, depending what you're trying to do. So in my case, I learned all the first bits, just trying to get this off to get this tailgate, sorry, to get this tow bar installed under the bumper, which was a couple of days work. Okay, so I'll start putting these back together. I think this will be the first one. So this just clips in one clip in the middle, and then it's got these bolts on the side. So I'll get that in place and then show you those bolts going back in and what size they are. Okay, just one thing in the back here, just worth showing you. So under this panel, and what is worthwhile if you do want to take it out, is you can take out the rear seats. So that is quite, that's what we did when we did the battery on the previous video. And just when you do take out, depends where you take out, sorry, took out the seat squab. If you take out the seat back, you take them out with these ones. You do have to be careful, because here we have got the airbag sensor switches to fire the side airbags on the side of the seats, I believe. That's mistaken. And the other thing that's interesting, no, that is wrong, isn't it? Surely that's the seat belt buckle. Anyways, the other thing that's interesting on my car is that this is the power wire to the seat back for the seat heaters, which I don't have. So I never connected them. But if you're interested in having a warm back and not a warm bum, you could wire those up to a relay and put some power down those. So that's about it. This is the box that clip goes into. And then the only other thing to take care of is that these foam insulators go back in, so that damps even more of the noise when this panel, hopefully one-handedly, goes back in. Okay, I'm going to go around to get that so I don't smash it. Okay, I did check that out, and I didn't even realise I've got side airbags on the rear seats as well as the curtain airbags on the roof. Anyways, the bit that is interesting is this plastic strip, which I've put back in now. It is a bit fiddly getting the side panel in and into this groove, because you are fighting with yourself, and it is a bit easier if this is moving around a little bit when you're doing that. So to achieve that, just leave that plate off that we just put in, or that trim piece, sorry, and leave these screws off on this side fixing until you've got your side panel back in. So I'll just get the side panel back in, get the 12 volts back on, and I think we're all good. Everything's all fine there, okay, already. So just before we put it back on, worth a look to see where the clips are. So there's 3 clips on the front there, one at the top, middle and bottom, and 2 clips at the back. And there was me singing the praises, and I'm not even sure if it was 100% me, but that clips in, and it was this one which was damaged. So I've just moved this to the back, because if I do fix this later, it's just a bit easier to change this back one. So I've got this bolted fixing here for the tie down, so this one's really tightly in, won't cause me any trouble later. And again, more insulation inside that panel, which is why a Mercedes is nice and quiet. Okay, let's get that back on. So one way to do that is to use a blade and just work your way down with that blade, much easier with 2 hands, and get that seal to just pop over the edge of the trim panel. Okay, similar at the back, so just feel your way along, just try and make sure those clips are in and home. It does go in easier at the back, and the same with the back trim. You got to just peel it over the edge of that panel, up and down, until the panel's nicely home. Back trim's much easier. And as you might not have seen, but it did go in a bit easier because that strip was loose. Now we can start to get that strip bolted back down. And that's about it. Side panel back in, and that broken clip, I'll just get one of those for the next time we've got it apart. Okay, these little panhead Torx bolts, it's best to put the back ones in first, and they're pretty loose, and I'll just put them down a bit, but get the front one in before you tighten those off, because that still allows it to slide in the slot when you put that front one in. I'll get all 6 of those in and I'll show you the next bit. Okay, so those are all tightened down. Don't go mad, just use a little 1/4 inch socket ratchet to put those in. Next thing is putting in these little clips. So there's just 4 of them, and they just fit and they just hold in. Basically, you'll see there's that hole there you might have noticed earlier, and they just hold the boot liner. So just try and get that around the right way in there, and they're just push pins. So that center pin just holding that boot pin in. That trim panel, I'll have to go and find that hole. I'll get the 4 of those in, 2 on each side. Just one bit that won't be so obvious when you take it apart is this side bucket. So that just drops down in the hole. Oops, sorry, just showed you. At the bottom of that hole, there's a couple of weld studs just sticking up from the panel there. You might see those, and they just drop down through those huge holes. Nothing's ever as easy with one hand, that's for sure. Okay, so that just fits down like that. And then these, to get them off, they've actually got a couple of little holes, but if you just get your fingers on them, you should be able to spin them round, because to get them on, you can just push them down. And they're not too fancy, they just hold that trim panel in place and take that out. So that one needs to come out before we take the side panel out. On the right hand side, no such thing. And don't do what I did, which is forget to connect your 12 volts, otherwise you'll be taking your panel back out and doing it again. Okay, that's back in, that one's back in. So I'll get the just make sure that left hand panel's clipped in correctly, and then we'll move on to the tie downs. Okay, so these are the tie downs, and the way they work, I don't know how we'll go one-handed. So you've got a thread, and you've got a little pin that goes in that hole just there. Nope, wrong one, sorry. Let's start that again. So I can't put in these tie downs, so I'll put in the tie downs at the front up there. So as mentioned before on this panel, just make sure you've got the clip in the middle, and then the tie down. In this case, there's a little slot in the felt there, a bit hard to see, and that's just for that anti-rotation. And then these are Torx 30, and I'll just pre-start those and get those torqued down once we're happy with that. So they just screw down into that chassis rail, and I'll just get the cover on. I'll get those 4 in and just show that cover going on. The other two of the tie downs are not so obvious, so again you might see that pin going in there this time. And is that one going to sit there? No, it's not. Just grab the other one. See if I can do that one one-handed. Something like that. Again, just make sure that's going in and that one's not. So you've got to get that clip to go in over the edge. There we go. Edge of that panel. Otherwise, sorry if that was, I wasn't watching what I was doing. Sorry if that wasn't obvious. So by doing that, that really pulls in and holds that trim panel in place at the bottom. And then at the top, it's these ones, these small black ones, and again, small little plastic pin just going in the hole there. You won't need to know all that when you're taking it apart, because it'll just be a lot more obvious what's happening as you take all the trim apart and take all those out to start with before you try and work out what the hell is going on. So there we go on that one. Okay, I'll just get these bottom ones tightened up, and then for the clip that goes on the top, that just leans over that pin and clips on that back panel there, just using those little black plastic clips. So it just hangs onto that little metal piece. So I'll get those on. Okay, so the next bit to go on is these two covers. Now these are a bit fiddly, so they just go on over the top. If I've got that the right way around, just like that. And they're held in with these little black screws. I'll tell you the size in a minute. And the bit that's fiddly is you've got to get that screw all the way down the hole and just get it to line up while you're trying to get that to go together. They need a good clean, but those are the two covers for the, as mentioned before, for the roller blind. Thought I'd try and show this one going in. So the best trick is just hold them up at a real low angle as you offer them into the hole, and then if you're lucky, just like that, they'll just tighten down. So Torx 20 for those two. Okay, getting there. So I hope you've watched the end, because I did get something slightly wrong earlier. So this piece goes back on, just as I mentioned, just with those clips. And because I'd had my car in pieces for so long, I hadn't actually got round to putting that back together properly. So same as before, just knock that down. Same with the boot seal. Pull the boot seal over. This one's a bit easier. Get the boot seal over the trim panel. Okay, and then lucky last, put this screw in, which is Torx 30, and that goes right down the back there. So again, that's the one thing that will catch you out. If you follow my instructions from before, try and wrench on your panel, you will find, so that's opposite of an Easter egg. I just have to get a little driver in there and get that screwed in and get that down. Then we're nearly on the last bit. Okay, last bit on this bit is when you put the boot liner back in, the boot base, you just clip these two little studs back on these two elastics. I'm not exactly sure why they're needed, but they do make the boot go up and down a little bit better. And then we're pretty much done. One thing not everybody knows is the reason for this strap is to hold that up out of the way while you're working on the spare. Okay, I'm going to get my just bits of cloth and jack under the floor there, and then apart from it needing a good clean in the boot, I think we're done on putting the boot back together. Okay, I can't do that one-handed, that's meant to be underneath. Okay, I'll show you one last bit after this bit as a little bonus. So, bonus number one, what do you keep in your boot? I've got the towels going on, the tow ropes under the spare wheel, spare gloves, another towel, water to wash your hands, first aid kit, under the first aid kit, the air pump for those flat tyres, the jump leads, got the new battery now, probably don't need that, another pair of gloves, and a spade, just for those times you get stuck. So, seems reasonably comprehensive to me. The tow rope, I should check sometime. Underneath the spare wheel, you've got the screw-in tow bar, or the tow pull, for the front bumper. Really only for rescue, but hopefully that strap would get me out of trouble if I did get stuck. And even though that's a lot of stuff, it's playing correctly, it's just the jump leads need to take a bit of a set. Sits down. Okay, I'm not convincing you, I know, but it does sit down under the floor if I put that in the right place. So I'll get that in, get the boot liner in, and show you the next bit. Okay, the last bit was just that I was lucky when I got my car. I got this pretty awesome boot liner. It has failed a little bit up the front here, and on another video I might show myself re-gluing that again, but I've had everything from axle stands to a boot full of wood to even a 300 kilo hydraulic lifting scissor lift in the boot, all on that mat, and it's just awesome. My carpet still pretty much looks like the day it came from the factory. Okay, that's the video of how to take apart your interior trim and access your side panel. Thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and in another video you'll see how I actually did get to repair that strut. Okay, so just in this part of this video, just how to take the strut off. So the first thing you need to do is to get this trim piece off, and this just fits in here on the tail light, and it's held in, I'll get it back together in a minute, but it is held in with these little plastic studs. And when you've got that out, to get the tailgate out, apart from taking out the interior trim, you just pull the cable out through this grommet, and you lift these little metal clips. I don't know if you can quite see this on the video, but you put a screwdriver in under that metal clip, pull it forward, and then the strut will pop off that clip. And just covering that up is this little trim piece, which I hadn't put back on. So that just unclips with the screwdriver first at the bottom. And at the top, very similar, but there is no cover. So again, sorry, camera in the wrong place. You just get a little screwdriver under the metal clip there, and then you can just ease that clip away, and it should come free. Okay, that's how you get the struts out, and on the left hand side exactly the same. So the plastic clip, and then up the top there the metal clip. Okay, in the next part I'll show you what I did once I got those struts out. So as mentioned, these trim panels need to come out, and they just go in with these little rubber buffers, which now don't seem to line up whatsoever. Okay, it's got to go up a bit. So these little rubber buffers just go in those holes, and if we're lucky, I can just get that one in. You just pull those out with a screwdriver or a pair of pliers. Oh, there's the one up there. Okay, we'll just get that one up and try and get that in one-handed. It's just pushing on that cable a little bit. Okay, I'll just get that one in off camera. And that's the first bit to getting your strut off. So ease that out. One option. The other option is trying to take the strut off, but you will play around a lot with this, because this is where the cable goes under, and this trim panel fits under the top trim panel and inside the bumper at the bottom. So you are kind of fighting things, and inside the seal. You might see better on this side, inside the seal there. So all a bit of a pain. The other option is try and take the lights off from taking the trim panels out and getting in there through those access holes. All really tricky. Okay, good luck with that. Thanks for watching this bit.